Control Paladin is an anti-aggro juggernaut. We're going to take a look at the cards, and I'm going to show you what I mean by playing a couple of games here. So before we go any farther, I call this control. I know some people call it mid-range. Nobody can really agree on what control is or what mid-range is. They're kind of abstract ideas for a lot of people. It's really just a defensive deck. We're playing defensively, and that's why we're going to be good against aggro. So quick look at the cards here. We're packing in a lot of healing, Holy Maki roll. Restore 2 health, repeatable this turn. Basically, it's just like the Echo keyword. Knight of Anointment to draw holy spells. We can discover additional holy spells with the Vicar here. City Tax, deal 1 to all enemies, and it's going to give us a little bit of health here because it has lifesteal on it. That's going to pair up well with the Wild Pyromancer. Of course, Equality Pyromancer is there to remove boards. Flash of Light, restore 4 health, draw a card. Vitality Surge, draw a minion, restore health equal to that the minion's cost. Righteous Defense, this is basically just not exactly removal, but it does get rid of a threat, although it is still going to leave a 1/1 on the board. And it's also going to buff your hand. I'll talk a little bit more about that here in a few moments. Shimmering Sunfish, if you're holding a holy spell, gain Taunt and Divine Shield. There's so many holy spells in the deck, you're almost always going to be able to get Divine Shield and Taunt. In fact, I can't think of a single time I've played this card and not gotten the effect from the Battle Cry. So, really solid anti-aggro tool there. Of course, Cariel Roam, if you're running a lot of holy cards, you have the ability to potentially make those cards cheaper. Queen Ajara, as far as the Queen goes, the main option that I take when I play Queen Ajara, of course, you don't ever want to play her until she's active, but when she's active, I usually take the 3-mana Colossal Horn with this deck, and that's going to give you a 1-mana Colossal. Other options, you could potentially, I suppose, take the 2-mana weapon. The 0/5 deals 2 damage to your opponent's face every time you play a spell. We do have a lot of spells in the deck. If you were trying to set up lethal, I've never actually found a use for that, but it could be an option. And then you could also take the 1-mana, copy the last spell that you played for only 1 mana. You know, you could potentially play like an Immortalized in Stone and then play another one for only 1 mana. It's kind of like the really, really, really poor person's Anoyo Horn, if you're familiar with the Kazakhstan treasures. The one that you should never take, I don't think you should ever take in any deck whatsoever, is the, I think it's 1 mana, but it's shuffle 5 random cards into your deck and then draw 2 cards. If you shuffle 5 junk cards in your deck, every single time you draw a card, the most likely thing that you're going to draw is one of those junk cards, and they're probably going to be really, really bad, not going to help you, and it's really just going to reduce your chances of being able to win. So, Queen Ajara, most of the time, Colossal Horn. Forging, really just card draw, Taunt, Divine Shield, but it's also going to hit the Leviathan or Smite in most cases, unless you already have both of those in hand. Smite, somewhat of a finisher. You can actually get some really, really big Mr. Smites, as you can plainly see. So the way that I was able to do that was by playing Cariel, and then I manipulated my hand in such a way that I was able to hero power, and the hero power was landing on Smite every turn, and then also Righteous Defense on some big minions. And again, if Smite's the only minion in your hand, it's guaranteed to land on Smite. So I kind of thought about calling this deck OTK Paladin, but when people realize, you have to play Cariel, you have to hero power, and you have to get lucky with which minions these buffs are landing on. It's not a true OTK deck, but still pretty impressive little minion there from one of the games that I played against the Druid. Immortalized in Stone, another good anti-aggro card. Summons us 3 taunts for a total of 14 health. Unfortunately, the 14 health lines up exactly with Scale of Onyxia, the Druid card removal. But it's still really, really strong against aggro decks, which is mainly what we're targeting with this deck anyway. Cariel, just a tremendous anti-aggro card. Nobody's running any kind of weapon removal, so when you play Cariel, you basically just stop taking damage. And of course, if you can get to the point where you play Cariel and then have a Holy Maki roll in your hand, you can basically heal all the way back up, and they're doing half damage the rest of the game. Aggro decks just can't get around it. Cariel seals the deal in all of the aggro matchups, really. The Leviathan, not a super good Colossal, but I found that being able to dredge and then draw that card immediately can be good. Sometimes Cariel gets buried on the bottom of your deck, or sometimes you're looking for Mr. Smite to finish your opponent. So not great, but it kind of works as removal. You're going to have 2 4-attack minions with Divine Shield and Rush to be able to remove things, and you'll get the bonus of being able to draw a card from the bottom of your deck. The Garden's Grace, give a minion 5/5 and Divine Shield, costs 1 less for each mana you've spent on holy spells this game. This is really strong. I mean, you can play it on Smite. These will be free by the time you've played like an Immortalized in Stone, so you can make your taunts bigger and add a Divine Shield. You can just give Smite extra damage. And then sometimes I'll even discover Garden's Grace off of Battle Vicar. So that's another way that you can get your Smite pumped up, bigger, and looking in good shape. So really just a solid anti-aggro deck. Against aggro, we would be looking to keep cards like Wild Pyromancer. City Tax is usually a good keep in a lot of matchups. Almost always keep Knight of Anointments. It's just a good card to play on turn 1. Equality, Equality City Tax or Equality Wild Pyromancer. Keeping those early boards under control from your opponent. And just making sure you don't take too much damage. And then, of course, Shimmering Sunfish, Cariel Roam would also be kept in aggro matchups, and Lightforged Cariel. So there's lots and lots of good stuff against the aggro matchups that you can keep, and it's going to help you have a really good game against those aggro matchups. Very, very difficult for your opponent to be able to beat you if their game plan is just an aggressive deck. The only other really deck that I see besides aggro right now is actually just the Kazakhstan Druid. And the matchup is, it's pretty hard for this deck. I mean, I'm 50-50 against Kazakhstan Druid, but it feels so much worse. When I was looking up the stats just before making this video, I was shocked that I was actually 50-50 against Kazakhstan Druid. It's so hard. The games I win are games where I just kind of fall backwards into like Sunfish, Cariel, Forge Ring, and then Immortalized in Stone in that order on those turns. Just being able to get the minions on the board and pressure them. A board, big enough and wide enough that it can't be removed by Scale of Onyxia. Other than that, you're really just playing for like some kind of a Smite OTK. But of course, the Druid is going to be healing, and they're going to be doing things on their side of the board, making that a lot harder. So, Druid, you're probably not going to have a very good time playing this deck, but against everything else that I've seen on the ladder currently, it's just really, really good. Thank you for watching the video. If you're finding anything useful here, please consider liking the video. Also, please consider subscribing to my channel. You're going to find a lot more content exactly like this. And now we're going to jump into a couple of games, and I'm going to show you what I mean about Control Paladin is the anti-aggro Juggernaut. So right off the bat here, looks like we've hit a Demon Hunter. Yeah, so this is actually a pretty good hand to be looking at the beginning anyway. Wild Pyromancer is a keep. Shimmering Sunfish is a keep, and I'm just going to keep the Flash of Light. It's not always a keep, but it's a holy spell that's going to enable the Shimmering Sunfish, and it's also going to be healing, it's going to be card draw, and it's something that can be paired with the Pyromancer. Not really a whole lot to do here, so we're just going to pass turn. Trog on turn 1 is still intimidating, especially when you're playing a deck with a lot of spells, but most of the time it just isn't really going to matter because of the deck that we're playing. But there are some interesting interactions that Trog can have with the deck. It's a pretty nice top deck. Just going to play out the Vicar here. Don't want to stick the Wild Pyromancer on the board. Kind of think we take the Equality here. Yeah, I think so. We're going to take the Equality, so that gives us Pyromancer Equality if we need it. But the interesting interactions that I was talking about, if you play like Pyromancer Equality, the Trog gets set to 1, but then it's going to summon an additional 1/2, so you can't actually clear the board. And if you're not careful and you continue to play a lot of spells, then you're going to be summoning multiple Trogs that aren't going to die. This is just a Sunfish for sure, so hopefully this will allow us to be able to clean up these Trogs, but some of the plays that you can make against these aggro decks is you can actually play Wild Pyromancer and Maki Roll multiple times. You can repeatedly heal your own Pyromancer with Maki Roll so that it doesn't die, and that lets you get these board sweep effects. You just have to be really careful because it's not going to work against Trogs. This is looking like a Pyromancer Equality here. Our opponent's nice and wide. We don't want to take too much damage. We don't want to leave a lot of minions on the board. So I think the play is to trade for the Trog and then Pyromancer Equality. Kill on the Trog first because we don't want to summon an additional Trog that's not going to die to the Pyromancer effect, as I was talking about just a little bit ago. Then I'm going to actually play the Equality here that was in my deck That way they don't realize that I have a discovered equality in hand. We're going to keep a little bit of information secret from our opponent here. Second Vanguard. So not a super strong turn from him. It's going to draw a card here. So now we have equality and city tax. And we'll go ahead and top off. And we've got our nice card that's going to give us a lot of taunt, 14 health. You do have to be a little bit careful when you're playing that Immortalized in Stone card. If the Demon Hunter is able to equip the Dread Prison Glaive and then get a multi-strike, it can actually remove your big taunts while dealing a lot of damage to you at the same time. So, gotta be a little bit careful, but should be fine. Equality City Tax. It's just so clean. It heals us up. It removes the board. And our opponent's starting to run a little bit low on resources here as well. Only 3 cards in hand. We're at full health. And then next turn, it's going to depend on what we draw, but it looks like we're actually going to be able to play this Immortalized in Stone. It's going to be able to prevent our opponent from doing a lot of damage. Okay, so they play Bone Glaive here. Immortalized in Stone is probably going to be looking pretty good. We're still really, really healthy going into this turn. Top deck Cariel, you just jam it. Once you get Cariel down on the board, again, you just stop taking damage. Until people start running weapon destruction in these aggro decks, you're just never going to lose. I mean, now we're going to be able to play, we can play Immortalized in Stone, and then we have both of the Garden's Grace are going to be free. So, I mean, at that point, what are they going to do? You can see our opponent just gives up. Next game versus Rogue. This could be a little bit interesting. I don't see a whole lot of Rogues on the ladder, at least not like I did earlier in the season. Cariel in the opening hand, that's an absolute keep. City Tax Equality. I almost want to keep it just because of the sunken ship that summons the pirates in stealth, you know, just in case. We don't want to take a lot of damage early, but I think we can do a little bit better. Okay. Well, maybe not a whole lot better, but feeling really comfortable here with this Cariel in hand. So we're just going to drop down Knight of Anointment. So we've already got some early healing. The games that you're actually going to lose against aggro with this deck is when they just do too much damage in the early game. Got himself a nice little 2-1 dagger. Second Immortalized in Stone. So really we're just looking to be able to buy time here. I'm going to Flash of Light. I mean, it's good to be proactive with this deck. You don't want to sit back and wait to take additional damage so that you can get the full heal. Just go ahead and play that card out, and we're going to draw. See if we can get into some better minions. So, unfortunately here our opponent's going to be able to draw some cards off of this Cutlass Courier. And there's not a whole lot that we can actually do about it right now. And by not a whole lot, I mean absolutely nothing. So it's unfortunate, but still not super worried. Again, just because we have the Cariel in hand, and then with both Immortalized in Stone. Once Cariel comes down, we should be able to clean up most, if not all, of the board just from the 2 damage AoE. And then with Immortalized in Stone, and we're going to have the Leviathan for removal. So things should be looking pretty good here. Our opponent's presenting a pretty strong board. We really... we really don't want to be taking this much damage. Come on, bro. You're making me look bad. Garden's Grace will be good once it's free. Yep, we're just going to heal a little bit and see what we can draw, I think. So we've got... Okay, so we've got Pyromancer Equality next turn. We're just going to be taking a lot of damage this turn. He's got 11 on the board right now with the Puffer Fist needles that he's going to be shooting at me. He's also going to be drawing a card, at least one. The Cutlass Courier. It's going to put us down to 15. And Hero Power. So that turn could have been a Could have been a lot worse. I mean, the 3/2 dagger is actually pretty strong. It represents 6 damage over 2 turns. Turn actually went pretty well for him. Fortunately, we have the answer, Pyromancer and Equality here. We'll be able to clean up this board. And then the following turn, on turn 6, it's likely just coin Ariel here. So, yep, it's going to be Pyromancer and Equality. Like our Garden's Grace is now free, and then we're just going to pass turn. So, again, likely coin Cariel. It might depend a little bit on the board state. Maybe coin Leviathan could be better. It's pretty unlikely, though. Cariel's just so strong. Again, you basically just stop taking damage once the Cariel comes down. Washburglars. I'm not sure that that's a great card in this deck. I'm not sure that's a great card in any deck, to be honest, at the moment. And he's able to pick something off the bottom of his deck. I really like Dredge as a keyword. I can Swashbuckler. This is all lining up really nice for the Cariel. You know, he didn't play any big minions that aren't going to die to the AoE. So we'll be able to play Cariel and then swing into the Tuskar here. And that's going to clear the board. It's also going to heal us. You just jam it. There's really no thinking about it. Almost misclicked and played the Leviathan, though. Watch out for that when you got them side by side in your hand. But we're going to get cleaned up and pass turn back to our opponent. Immortalizing Stone's going to be coming down. We've got a 0 mana Garden's Grace. It's going to be able to give a minion 5/5 and Divine Shield. Alinda Stonehearth. That is... What is this guy doing? I think he's trolling himself. What a weird game, man. I haven't played a game this weird in a long time. You gotta watch out for these weird games, though, man, because they go crazy. Like, crazy stuff happens, and you don't know how to play because you're not used to seeing it. I actually like Garden's Grace on the small minion here. It's gonna give us a nice little wall of taunts. It's gonna be a lot for him to have to fight his way through. Wouldn't even be surprised if he conceded here. Oh, baby. Hook Tusk. I've actually never had this card played against me. Take control of the highest attack minion, so he actually gets my Divine Shield taunt. Oh, and he Shadow Steps. Wow. Okay. Looks like he's gonna try to ride Hook Tusk all the way to the win. I think this is just a Leviathan turn here. We'll be able to dredge and draw and clear the board. It's also going to let us push 6 face. See what we got here. Garden's Grace. He's going to play Hook Tusk again, though. Maybe it's just Cariel Roam. I want him to play Hook Tusk and take another big minion with Divine Shield. Go ahead and push our 6 and then pass turn. And there's the Hook Tusk once again. Take 2 cards from hand. Unfortunate. Man, that happens really fast, too. No, he got an Equality. I don't think I saw the first card that he took. Oh, and he Shadow Steps Hook Tusk again. He really is trying to ride Hook Tusk for the win. See if we can discover a way to kill him here. It might actually just be Invigorating Sermon. These are really all that great. There's an argument for Vitality Surge just to draw a minion, maybe draw into a Smite. It's going to let us push a lot of damage, though. That's 17 damage now. And we're able to get down the nice little taunt. Let's definitely Smite. Alright, so we've set our opponent to 4, and we have a 7 damage smite in hand, so feeling pretty good about this now. Not sure that there's anything our opponent can do at this point to prevent us from being able to kill him. Wow, Shadowcrafter Scabs. That's the first time I've had Scabs played against me since this set came out as well. Scabs is just so slow now and just not good enough. Rogue just doesn't have a whole lot going for it just yet. They might actually need a mini set or even another set to really kind of round out in this Year of the Hydra with the new core set. And that's looking like this is actually going to be game right here. We're just going to be able to play the smite, swing face. We've got exact lethal non-damage against our opponent. Yep. Burn doesn't matter. Get in there, smite. We're going to let smite finish our opponent. Nice. So, again, this deck, anti-aggro Juggernaut, any deck that has an aggressive game plan is going to struggle against it. Get out there and give it a try, man. There's tons of people playing Demon Hunter. Thank you for watching. Good luck out on the ladder.